Hey, welcome back to another episode of this One Piece podcast. Today we are discussing the Jaya and Skypiea arcs. With me today are Luke and Kyle. I am Will, and yeah. Anybody want to kick it off with their general impressions of these arcs?
Yeah, sure. I fucking love these arcs. These are definitely my favorite. Like these two, like counted together, are probably my favorite arcs that we've discussed so far. Um, I just love I love Jaya for like the sense of like mystery and exploration as they kind of like try to like figure out what the fuck is going on with like the Sky Island and like the giants on the horizon and like the falling ships and stuff. There's just like so many like questions and just makes the world seem so like so mysterious and uh yeah, just like the sense of adventure is the strongest that it's ever been in One Piece at this part. And then when they finally go up to the Skypiea and we get like all of that, we get like the flashback with like Calgara and Noland, and we like learn the secret of like the bell and like why like we learn about like the shadows and stuff. So much good stuff, like so much adventure, fantastic. What did you guys think?
Uh,
Uh,
Go ahead.
I'm not as sold on this saga here. I would say it's my second to least favorite arc in all of One Piece.
Damn.
Um, mostly just because I wasn't feeling the whole story going on with the island, with the priests and then the rebels. It was just I wasn't sold on that. Um, I'm also, since we didn't really get to talk about Robin last time, since she just joined, I
Mhm.
am a big Robin hater.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
I am
Oh,
dead
dude.
serious. I
Oh
am
my
a
God.
big Robin hater, and this arc is like the first time they like go on an adventure with Robin, really. And I just think she's useless, and her purpose on the crew is very just so streamlined. Uh, I do enjoy I do this arc. I do enjoy the adventure aspect. They really go all out. As like, oh, no one has gone to a island in the sky. Uh, so as far as that goes, it was pretty cool. But the overarching story to it all, I didn't care for.
Um, I'd say I'm definitely somewhere in the middle of you two. I also really like the sense of adventure and just like the world building that was done with the setup in Jaya and then the actual Skypiea arc. And I really liked the entire idea of this island that was shot into the sky and all the inhabitants. And I liked the backstory with Noland and Calgara. And I think the arc was it felt the flattest was I just didn't I wasn't a fan of the main villain guy, Enel. I don't know, for some reason he just fell flat compared to the previous villains that we've seen so far. Um, Maybe that was just because he was so easily countered. It was like a lightning guy and Luffy's rubber, and like it's got to happen at some point, right? Because like
Hmm.
if your main character's a rubber guy, like you're gonna have to come across some guy that's lightning. But I feel like it would have been better used on maybe like I don't know, maybe like a gag character as opposed to like a big bad guy because for some reason it just made the fight scenes maybe a little less impactful than they could have been. Um, and I have not watched them animated in the anime, but yeah, I'd say the character aspect I didn't care for a lot of the characters too much. I think I cared mostly for the rebel characters. They were more interesting just because they were like Calgara's descendants and they were trying to ring the bell. But like I did not care at all for the Canis, I think her name was, and her father. I
She was
liked
awful. I
uh
hated I hated
I don't
that
know, she
lady,
just
and
didn't seem like
it
she had a
looks like
point.
she had a mustache.
I liked the Gonfall. I liked him. He was cool.
Yeah, he's
But
cool.
Yeah,
yeah, all the captains were kind of whatever. I thought they were going to be a bit stronger or something, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of interesting stuff to come out of it with the all the cool gadgets that I mean Usopp gets all these really cool gadgets by the end of the arc, and I'm sure we're going to be able to see them being used. And I guess they'll probably take the waiver as well, probably for whatever use that they want to have out of it. But yeah, yeah, some of the major characters just kind of fell flat for me, but overall I liked the arc just because of the world building that it did. And on the topic of Robin, I like this was advancing her arc quite a bit because we get to
Hmm.
see her discovering these new runes. And yeah, I like, I mean, she's a pretty new character, so I have yet to like form a strong opinion on her, but so far I like the fact that she's like kind of like an archaeologist, and we're getting a lot of world building with them introducing a new concept of like a lost century that just history has forgotten, and these new super weapons that we've heard about in Alabasta, and now we're hearing about on Skypiea. So yeah, some really interesting world buildings being laid out, and Robin seems to be at the forefront of that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like I feel like the I knew that I would have to defend my position as this being my favorite section so far because yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people like don't like Skypiea as much because it feels kind of like separated from the rest of everything else, you know, like it's kind of like everything like there's not like Shichibukai or anything like that. Like there was in Alabasta. Alabasta was like super connected to the rest of like the narrative, and Skypiea is kind of like a big like left turn. It's kind of like
Hmm.
out of nowhere.
Hmm.
But like I kind of like the. I mean, I think that Jaya like I actually kind of like Jaya more than Skypiea because like I just love like the atmosphere of Jaya, and I love the way that like Blackbeard is introduced and how everyone is like laughing at their dreams, and then Blackbeard is like, a man's dream will never die. That's like an amazing intro for Blackbeard,
Yeah.
especially considering he's like a villain character, and he's like his like first introduction is like him being like super cool and like basically being like Luffy. But like yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people don't like how it's like separate from everything else. It's kind of like it's literally just floating in the sky. But I like that we're able to kind of like explore a new culture that is kind of like completely separated from the rest of the Grand Line, and they have their own like culture, and they have their own like technology with like the dials and stuff. And I like how the fights kind of incorporate the dials as their own sort of like power system that's just for this arc. So yeah, I don't know. I really like Skypiea.
Yeah,
That's a good point because we just get off of Alabasta and he beats a Shichibukai and we see he gets a new bounty and like the actions that they had at Alabasta you could physically see an outcome and reaction to it. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
here, it's in the sky, they do their thing, and it doesn't really, contribute to the overall world. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I
Although I do think that there is like, there's a lot of setup with like the poneglyphs and like Will said about learning about the void century and things
Hmm.
like that. So I don't think it's like completely like separated from everything else, but like I do like kind of see that I see that as a like I see that complaint, and that makes sense to me why like people wouldn't like this arc as much for that reason. But for me, like it almost like heightens like I was talking about earlier, like the sense of adventure because it's this completely unknown thing. Whereas like their adventures here, like people won't even know about, and people won't even believe them when they like come back and tell them about it. Just like how everybody on Jaya was like laughing at them when they even like brought up the proposition of going to the Sky Island.
Hmm.
Yeah, I also really like Jaya. I like the whole interaction that Luffy had with Bellamy and like that whole thing, because like the entire time like it's like dramatic irony where the reader knows that Luffy is a very strong character, and that his $30 million or 30 million belli bounty is no longer up to date, and Bellamy is this very hot-headed guy saying, "Oh, I can handle this guy. He sucks." And then we get
Hmm.
the the ever so satisfying just absolute beat down of Bellamy by Luffy.
Yeah.
God, that was one of
That
the
one
more
2-page
satisfying
spread
scenes. Yeah, exactly. It was
of
so
the
good.
big punch.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, like you said, the introduction of Blackbeard is super cool. I was telling Luke like a week ago when I first saw Blackbeard, I was like, okay, that guy looks interesting, and like he doesn't seem like just a side character like when he's first introduced. And then he obviously later on they're like, oh shit, that's Blackbird, and like you get to meet some of his crew and stuff. And you also get there's like a little side story towards the end with Ace hunting down Blackbeard,
Hmm.
which is interesting. I don't think it really went anywhere during the course of Skypiea, but they're definitely setting up Blackbeard for the future. And then yeah, on the subject of it being kind of separated, I definitely kind of like that, and it kind of like felt like a almost like a just a breath of fresh air after Alabasta was so interconnected. But I honestly I thought they were gonna go the direction of like the entire Sky Society was gonna end up collapsing anyway, and like they would survive or whatever by evacuating, and like all these Sky people have to be like refugees and like have to find their way in the blue sea, which would have been a really cool for me at least would have been pretty cool and kind of an interesting take on it, having all these people just thrust into this new world like Luffy's crew were with Skypiea. But I was okay overall okay with like how they ended up settling it.
Yeah. Plus, I think that this is definitely the best like ending to an arc with like Luffy ringing the bell. Because like there's like so many different like arcs that are like wrapping up with Luffy like, ringing the bell. Like we learn about like how Nolan and like the significance of the bell to like Nolan and Calgara, and like how it was tragic that like they could never meet again after like Nolan left. So it's like he's like fulfilling their dreams, like and what they wanted by ringing the bell, and then he's also like that's like connected to characters that we know here, like now with like Wiper and Cricket, who are like in their own way kind of trying to fulfill the dreams of their ancestors as well. And then like so like when he rings the bell, it's like finality to like all of those different arcs, and then also obviously like it's with connected with him beating like Eneru as well. Um, but then like and then when we see like the Luffy making the shadow, it's just like, oh my god, it's so fucking good because it's like that setup from like earlier, from like the beginning of Skypiea, or I guess the end of Jaya or whatever, with like the giants, and we're kind of like that entire time we're like, well, what the fuck was the deal with the giants? And then we learned that it was all just like the shadow and like the panel of like Luffy, just like his arms spread like triumphant after ringing the bell, and we just see like Cricket, and like they're like, fuck yeah, he rang the bell. Like that's
Yeah,
just like such a great moment.
yeah, I definitely like the tie-in with the end of Cricket's like Cricket and the two Monkey Brothers. I like the Monkey Brothers a lot as just like side characters. They're pretty goofy, but
Yeah.
I like the end of their whole arc with them realizing, oh, the treasure is in the sky, and like they made it, and they get to see Luffy's shadow, which is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
um,
I really like how the monkey characters, like when they're introduced, like Luffy's like, "What species are you?" And they're like, "Bro, we're human." They're just like people
yeah,
that just like happen to look like monkeys.
yeah. Um,
But
I was confused. Didn't the I could have sworn that a lot of the people that were like the natives for the island, I can't remember the island in the sky. That was like God's Island, I think it was called. Didn't they have
mhm.
wings? And like, why would they have wings? Wouldn't they be like natives and not have wings?
Well, I think this actually gets touched on later in a cover art,
Okay,
but yeah,
Hmm.
it
I
does.
will keep my eye out for that.
Yeah.
You
Is
you gotta wait a long time for that answer. But it does get answered. So
yeah, it does. Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we get in this arc? Uh, I guess we could talk about just like Blackbeard being set up as a future villain, because like he like straight up just starts chasing Luffy right at the beginning, or I guess it's the end of Jaya, or maybe it's the beginning
Hmm.
of Skypiea, and
Yeah,
he's
he basically gets on the knockup stream, and that's how he gets away from
yeah
Blackbeard.
he's like, oh okay, well you've escaped me, but like I'm not gonna
Hmm.
give up or whatever. So I'm guessing probably be the next major victim or major villain, not victim. And whether that's next arc or the arc after that, I'm pretty excited for him just because they've been setting him up for a good amount of time, which it kind of reminds me of Crocodile being set up for as long as he was. So that's
Hmm.
got me pretty excited for him.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's
I don't remember if Blackbeard knows that him and Ace are brothers. Probably
I
not.
don't I don't know. Yeah, probably not. I think he probably at this point he basically just sees Luffy as like a big target because we already know that he's trying to join the Shichibukai because he sent like that one dude into the meeting. Um which I guess we could talk about that. We could talk about the meeting between like where they called all the Shichibukai trying to like pick a new one. Not all of them showed up obviously, but we saw two new Shichibukai. Um I
Hmm.
mean, we saw Hawkeye was at the meeting, but then also Doflamingo and Kuma were also there.
Yeah, it was good to see Hawkeye again. He's pretty sick.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
cool one.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was a pretty short scene, so I didn't like catch their names, but I'm sure the other
yeah,
two will be pretty big characters later on.
yeah. I mean, they're Shichibukai, so
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
that's a safe bet. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I think it's really cool how Blackbeard is kind of like at first, like like I love the first scene of Blackbeard where it's like he's like him and Luffy both order like a drink or something, and then one of them is like, "Oh man, this drink is so good, like
Oh
this is the
yeah.
best drink ever," and then the other one is like, "This drink is so shit, I could die," and then they like order like a cherry pie, and their like reactions are completely reversed, so they're immediately represented as like they just like don't agree on everything or on anything. But then when we like see Blackbeard later, he's like more on like the Luffy side of like the ideological conflict between him and Bellamy, where like Bellamy's like dreams are bullshit and Luffy's like no, dreams are like the best thing ever. And
Yeah.
then Blackbeard is definitely more on Luffy's side on that one. So I
Did
think it's cool that like Blackbeard, like before he's even like before he reveals himself to Luffy as a villain, or before they're like even in conflict, he's just like giving Luffy encouragement. So there's like definitely like some similarity between the two.
yeah. Did he know that that was Luffy before all
I mean,
that?
I don't think he really knew like he doesn't really know Luffy. He just sort of like sees him as like a means to the end of like, oh, if I capture this guy and bring him to the government, he's got a high enough bounty where that'll be like a big enough deal where they'll
Okay.
make me a Shichibukai.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he doesn't have like a grudge with Luffy or anything. It's just like,
He's just trying to get
nothing
that in
personal.
with
You're
the
just the highest
Shichibukai.
bounty in my eyesight.
Yeah, gotcha.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, Upper Yard was
But
what I
yeah, I
was
mean,
thinking of.
I like I also like a lot the scene in the bar. Like speaking of, I guess that's where Luffy and Blackbeard first met, but also like the scene where Bellamy and his crew are just like beating the shit out of Luffy and Zoro,
Oh
and they're
yeah.
just like
Hmm.
not fighting back because they're not worth it. They're like they don't even see them as like a threat. And Nami's just like freaking out. She just doesn't understand. She's like, "What the fuck? You got to fight back!" After she had been telling them previously, like, "Don't start any fights on this island."
Yeah, and
Um,
I think that
I
makes his
love
like
that scene, and
revenge fight so much better too.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah,
yeah.
that's what
And
makes the yeah,
it actually mimics Shanks's experience in the bar, like from
Oh
the
yeah.
exactly,
first chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. Get to see
yeah, super sick.
super all comes around with Luffy basically being Shanks in that position. Super cool.
Hmm.
Not even worth his time.
Yeah, exactly.
Cause like wasn't Luffy the entire time like Shanks, why don't you fight back? Why don't you fight back?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was like, and then he got in a fight with them, and then that's what caused Shanks to actually start like to get serious was because he actually had something to protect,
So now I'm
rather than before.
expecting 200 chapters from or 300 chapters from now, Nami's gonna have a bar scene where they're beating up her. I think Nami was like a character that was a bit underwhelming throughout the whole arc. She didn't really have like she had like her moment I guess against Enel, but it wasn't like I think she was one of the more underutilized characters. I don't know. I kind of got that impression from a few of the characters. None of the well,
Hmm.
some of the crewmates just seemed there as opposed to like actively contributing. And they were kind of knocked out early, which I guess was kind of there to establish how strong Enel was. Um,
Hmm.
with his lightning powers, like I guess Sanji and Usopp were knocked out by somebody else. but all the other ones were knocked out pretty swiftly by Enel, Robin, Chopper, and everybody. And I guess that was all there to set up how strong they were, but it also kind of made me I wanted to see more out of them because especially after Alabaster, where we get to see all these really cool individual fights from each of them, and then
Yep.
now we
Hmm.
just don't. I think we got to see the most out of Zoro because he has like the really cool 1v1 with one of the captains, and
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. But other than that, most of them kind of just were there.
You better get used to that feeling with Robin.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like I, I agree. Like I think Robin is a criminally underutilized Straw Hat, but she's still one of my favorite Straw Hats. So
She seems so
yeah,
strong in Alabasta, and now she just doesn't seem as strong.
Get used to it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I love Robin, but yeah, I think that Oda definitely underutilizes her. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that like a lot of the I agree that I think a lot of the Straw Hats felt underutilized in this arc, and I feel like the big thing was like that I would change about this arc is I feel like a lot of the um like the tribe members got fights with the priests, and I would replace those with some Straw Hat fights because it's like I don't really care that much about any of like the tribe members except for like Wiper, and that's pretty much because of his like connection to like Kagura
Hmm.
and that sort of thing. And he just kind of is the coolest out of all of them because he gets the most attention.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that's one of Skypiea's flaws is too much fights with between like the priests and
But
the tribe.
nobody's.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
I feel like even those priests just seemed so underwhelming and weak. And that also could be because they were fighting nobodies, but
yeah,
I think I kind of like the fact that they were a little underwhelming, but just because they weren't like devil fruit users besides, and they had like their own tactics using
the
what,
dials.
the dials, yeah. So like they weren't themselves like the strongest fighters, but they had like really good experience with the dials. But then once you learn how to counter dials and like how to work around them, then these people are a lot less intimidating, which I kind of liked. It was an interesting take on like how to like scale up somebody's power without making it so that the main characters can't like work their way through them. I thought that the first captain they fight, the ball lady, was a bit like she seemed super strong, and then they just like knocked her out. Luffy like jumps on her.
just gave her a smack.
Yeah. um, I think that fight was like one of the more in-depth fights for the captains, and the end of it was kind of a bit abrupt, but yeah. Overall, I definitely enjoyed how they incorporated dials into the fighting, and except for one thing I didn't like was Wiper. He had the I can't remember
Oh
what the dial
yeah,
was
yeah.
called.
This is a big
I can
meme.
only
Yeah,
use this one more time or I'll
and he
die.
used it three
Proceeds to use it
times.
like three more times. That was a bit hokey, but overall I'm okay with it. It kind of goes back to the
Yeah,
nobody ever dies in One Piece type of thing, but
exactly. Yeah.
overall it
I
was
mean, I would say it's not nearly as bad as Pal. Like
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
No.
not
yeah.
as bad. That's like the biggest nobody ever dies in One Piece
Yeah.
moment ever.
Overall,
Ever.
I really liked Wiper as a character. I thought his design was super cool. He had like a
Yeah,
rocket launcher that was sick. It was like a
Hmm.
laser rocket launcher almost. It was super cool.
yeah,
And his whole like the tattoo on the side of his face was super cool. And then we get to see his backstory with the village elder and everything. I thought he was definitely one of my favorite new characters. And yeah, all the stuff with the dials is super cool. And I'm sure I mean, I'm hoping that we'll see more of it with Usopp like trades for a bunch of dials at the end. He kind of scams them,
yeah.
which is funny.
Uh
Um,
huh.
and yeah, I'm excited to see if they incorporate those later
For sure. Yeah.
because it's like a technology we haven't seen so far.
Yeah, exactly. That's like one of the things that I really liked about like Skypiea and like just sort of like learning about like oh like these are like the different everything's made out of clouds here and like they're different types of clouds and like this is kind of like how a society in the sky would work.
Yeah,
It's just like really cool.
Yeah.
And
Zoro
like it
should have
makes sense
picked
that
up
they would
that
have.
cloud sword.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like,
seriously.
that is such a cool sword. It's like a cloud whip sword. I was like, damn, Zoro gotta get him one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah,
it was interesting because they kept saying like my cloud sword has the strength of iron or something, and like the previous chapter has established that Zoro can cut through iron. So I was
Yeah.
completely expecting Zoro to just chop his cloud whip in two pieces and like maybe it comes back together because it's a cloud whip or cloud sword, but no, it was kind of a whatever type of thing.
yeah. I mean, I thought it was cool. Like Zoro basically gets the ability to do the long range cuts
Yeah,
in this, which is like obviously not as cool as like learning to cut steel, but I like those fights where it's just like a character like unlocks a new power during the fights
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like yes, like there was like a point to this, it
Mhm.
wasn't just like they made a villain just for the character to beat. I
Yeah.
like that sense of progression that you get with those kinds of fights. Speaking of fights, we also got like our first chopper 1v1, I guess, with like I think his name was Gadatsu.
Yeah, that was kind of
um
a it was like a comedy fight almost.
Yeah, yeah, kind of a gag
But that's
fight.
that's kind of how
But
Chopper's fights so far have gone with him and Usopp fighting last arc, which was really funny.
yeah,
Um,
but I like them. I think
yeah,
they're
no,
funny.
definitely. I like Chopper as a character quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
Jumper got a lot of focus this arc with like how he was kind of like trying to prove himself as like a real big boy pirate.
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. They like make a point of saying, "Oh, Chopper was super brave.
Yeah.
You're super brave today, Chopper," or something like that, and then he
Yeah,
proceeds to like
I like
freak
how they
out.
kind of treat him like a kid. They're like, "Good job."
God, every time Chopper's in his big form, like the first thing that goes through my head is like, it's like, well, first of all, he looks like Smokey the Bear, but second of all, it's like the fucking meme where it's like, Mom says it's my turn to play on the Xbox. it's,
Oh,
it,
there was a great thing with Chopper in like the background of one of the panels where like he's trying to get up onto the ship and like he like starts out in like big guy form and then he like shrinks into like little Chopper form and like kind of like tosses himself up onto like the ship using that. And it's just like not even a focus, it's just in the background. Like there's so much shit like that I love about One Piece, just like so much little background
yeah,
details that
I
Oda
must have
just
missed
likes
that.
to
I'll have to go
throw
back
in.
and look at that.
It's pretty fun.
But going back to the topic of growing during fights, I didn't feel like Luffy grew too much during his fight. It wasn't like anything we hadn't seen from Luffy so far. I don't think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you
I
guys
mean,
agree?
honestly, I feel like Luffy doesn't really. I mean, there haven't really been that many fights so far where Luffy has like unlocked a new ability. Really, he's sort of just been like.
But
I mean,
he's
I
like
would say the
learns
biggest one where he
during
was
his fights
challenged was
though.
last. What was that?
He like learns during his fights like, okay, this person's move, I can do this or this or this. But for this
Mhm.
Yeah,
this fight, it didn't seem like he was like learning at all. He was like, okay, well, he can't use lightning on me, and so he has to use his regular stuff. And like his regular stuff was like not, it didn't seem like that threatening
Yeah.
from a reader's perspective. Like it just seemed like they were fighting, and like he kept knocking him off the boat, which is it seemed almost forced in a way to like create conflict. So like Luffy's constantly having to try to get back on the boat to stop this whole thing from going on, as
Mhm.
opposed to
hmm
like just a straight up fight. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it was a bit of an underwhelming fight for me.
The only thing was that Enel had the mantra where you could like predict Luffy's attacks.
Oh yeah,
hmm and so Luffy had to like he had to like go into like retard mode and like bounce all of his punches off the. I mean, at first he literally just tried like wiggling around so that like there wouldn't be any intention or anything, but that didn't really
yeah,
work. So I mean, I like the part where he like bounces all of his punches off the side of the ship. That was pretty cool.
yeah. I did like the mantra, the whole mantra thing is interesting, and I hope we get more of it because it doesn't. I don't think it got too explored. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Um,
um,
because they were
yeah,
all the like captains were like, oh god damn it, I'm not using my mantra correctly, and if I don't use it correctly, like I can't predict their movements. And then we have Enel who's
hmm
like, well, I'm using my mantra so I can predict their movements. So hopefully we get something with that later on, like what this mantra really is. I don't think we really got a good explanation. So
For Yeah, I mean, when I was, I really like Eneru as a villain, but that's probably when I was watching this, like I did not have a brain yet, and so like I did not see like the Luffy is a rubber man, so he counters lightning. I did not see that coming, um, and so well, I mean, at first we don't even really know that like Eneru is a lightning guy. We just know that he's God and that he can like smite people from like a distance.
yeah.
Um, and
Oh, Kyle died.
What happened?
Kyle died.
He got smited.
He got smited by NL. Um,
God, he nailed just smited him off.
um, yeah, I don't know. I sent both of you guys a text one as soon as like there's like a 1 page frame of them everyone's freaking out like, "Oh my God, this guy's got lightning powers. Who can stop him? Oh my God, he's gonna be so strong. Nobody can stop him." And then I was like, "Well, maybe a certain rubber pirate could do this." It was I don't know.
Yeah, I was also probably like, 12, 13 years old when I was watching this. So uh I liked him, and hey, he looks like Eminem's. So
True, he does.
wicka wicka Slim Sadie.
Kyle, you're back.
Okay. I don't remember I was just talking about how I didn't really understand, and I was surprised
Yeah, I
when.
really liked the two frames that I really liked was there was like one really silly Luffy frame that was painted or drawn,
Yeah,
and then there was the one frame when ML realizes his lightning doesn't work, and it's like his
Yes,
his
yep.
yeah,
face is just
that's what I
soup.
was talking about.
I
Yeah,
love
The
that
Yanel
frame.
face.
Yeah,
Yep.
so funny. There were some really good faces
so
this chapter. There was one that I saw from Usopp where his eyes were just straight up just completely out of his head and his like teeth were completely out of his head. Usopp always has generally good faces, but yeah, there were some really good ones.
also the like right at the very end where they're like leaving the Sky Island, and Conus is just like, okay, well, like now you're gonna like just fall, and they're like, what? We're gonna fall, and then the ship just drops, and like you see like their heads, and then there's like their eyes and their teeth are just
Yeah.
like all right above where their heads are.
Yeah, it's like a Tom and Jerry kind of moment.
Yeah, exactly. Very like slapstick cartoony.
Oh, that's where that meme comes from. Oh my
That's
god.
the Yanel face
Oh
on
my god.
SpongeBob. Yep.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. I've seen
Yep.
so many versions of that. That's actually crazy.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, well now I know. Now I know the origin.
Know your meme.
Now I know my meme. Let's
Yeah, so I don't
see.
know. I like Enel. I
Yeah,
think he's cool.
I liked Enel. I just thought he was I don't know. I didn't like him as
You
much as
are right that
Crocodile.
like once we learn that Luffy has like the perfect counter, then it's like it's just a beatdown. But
Yeah.
I do like the ball on Luffy's hand. I thought that was kind of
Yeah, that
like
was funny.
how he like figures out a way to like he's like, all right, I may not be able to like beat you, but I can stall.
Yeah.
And then Luffy's just running around with a big ball. And then I do really like the fact that he uses that ball to ring the bell. Like
Yeah.
that's really
As soon as
too.
I saw the ball, I was like, well, he's got to use that to ring the bell, right? It's a
Yeah.
ginormous metal ball.
Yeah. It's so
Um,
good. Yeah.
yeah. I like the whole build up for the bell. Like, I thought the emotional point of the bell being rung and like everyone's reaction to it was really good. Just because it was
Yeah.
well set up with the. It was a pretty long flashback with Mont Blanc Noland. And I really like the
Yeah.
flashback with Nolan just because
Me too.
it's going back to like the Jaya arc and we get to see more of that happen and it's like it goes back to like the house that you see on Jaya that's cut in half and I like at the time you're just like, oh, that's a funny gag to like make it seem like it's a bigger house than it is, like make it seem like there's a castle here or something, but then you learn like,
Hmm.
oh, there was another half to this castle or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, just going back to like the whole Jaya interaction and getting to see all that stuff is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
Also, you get like the origin for the giant snake. Uh, I guess there were there multiple giant snakes At one there
Yeah,
was
he kills like they kill the snake's dad and grandpa, I think. Because
yeah.
the first one was like the grandpa was the ritual sacrifice that Nolan stopped, and then the dad was when Nolan was trapped like after the earthquake,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
um and there
That
was like a snake and it was about to eat him, and that's when like Kagura is like, all right, you're my bro now. I'm
yeah,
gonna help you out.
Calgary just straight up he just kills him. Also we get like more on like sicknesses, which seems like a common thing around because you get to you we got it with Nami getting I think it was like jungle fever or something like that. And it seems like a pretty common like problem that you run into on the seas. Like there's a lot of these weird sicknesses.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, also it's just like One Piece world is like not as advanced as ours, so they don't
yeah,
have
exactly.
like cures for everything.
But you also have like people that are going around trying to solve these things. Like there are doctors and there are, I guess, Mont Blanc Nolan was like an herbalist, which is
Yeah,
definitely interesting. Instead
yeah,
of just, I guess it's a good point of contention to have is Nolan comes to the island and everyone else doesn't believe that he can solve these issues, but he can, and that's how he like
yeah.
gains their trust.
Yeah, I fucking love Noland. Like Noland is honestly one of my favorite One Piece characters just because like I love how when he like shows up, when he shows up to the island, um he is like, we there's like this conflict where it's like this is like kind of like a conflict that we've seen a lot, right? Where it's like not in One Piece particularly, just like in just media in general, where there's like you have like traditionalists, and then you have like people that are about progress. This is like a pretty common kind of like conflict, I guess, like an archetype for like different stories.
Yeah,
And I feel like a lot of times we get the side of like the traditionalists are like mad about progress because it conflicts with their beliefs or whatever, and like the people that are like for progress have to like show them, oh, like this like benefits your life and stuff, and it's like good. But like I like how, and like the usually it's the people that are the traditionalists or like the offended ones. But I like how Nolan is like pissed off when he comes to this island and he sees the human sacrifice, because he's like, not only are you like sacrificing a human life for no reason, but you are also like trampling over like all of like the painstaking effort that went into finding like real cures for these diseases that actually work.
yeah,
So he just he values like the progress that humanity has made just as much as these people value like their traditional beliefs and stuff.
hmm
And they do eventually come around, and I just like really like how that's presented from like kind of like the other side. We get like that, like he's like pissed about it. He's not just like, oh, I just want to help these people, but like
yeah.
he gets really fired up about it.
He's not just like understanding like, okay, this is where they came from. Like this is what they've been doing for a long time. He's like, you guys
Yeah.
are idiots. This is why you
Yeah,
should
I mean,
change
human
what you're.
sacrifice is fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
it's not,
Also, he's
you
sacrificing his
can't be doing that.
he's sacrificing his daughter, which is kind of
Yeah,
fucked up.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah,
I liked thing about Nolan like when they introduced him in Jaya, his story really reminded me of like Usopp. Because like they both were
yeah.
like boy who cried wolf almost. Well, not really.
Hmm.
Nolan was less so that, but that's kind of the vibe
Yeah,
you
well, I
get.
mean, that's kind of how he's presented. He's
Yeah,
presented as
yeah,
the
exactly.
liar,
That's
but
the vibe you get when they introduce him because he's supposed to be like this liar character. But then you
hmm
realize he wasn't a liar, and that's kind of like kind of goes back to Usopp when the pirates come to Usopp's island, and he's like, "Well, I've been painted as this liar, so nobody really trusts me, but I can do what I can here." And Nolan's a bit different from that, but it definitely a very similar vibe that I got from Nolan and Usopp.
Hmm.
yeah. And I love how at the end Nolan is willing to die for like just saying the truth. Like
Yeah,
they literally are like, "Yo, if you just like say that you lied, then like we won't kill you." But he's like, "No, I saw the city there. I saw the Golden City. It
his
was there."
his death was a bit weird to me because it was like Nolan, what do you have to say for yourself? We've got one of your crew member here to make sure you're not telling the, or make sure you're telling the truth. And he's like, I saw it with my own eyes. And this guy's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't a lie. And like, he's not one of my crew member. And then his real crew comes running up, and like he just dies anyway. And it's like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the king was just like
The king was pretty
he
set in
was just
his judgment, it seemed,
yeah.
which is, I guess, a common thing. Stubborn characters that don't really want to see the error in their ways. But um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of didn't like the fact that Nolan was so okay with just like the king was like, I want you to take me to this island of gold or whatever, and Nolan was like, yeah, sure. He like goes on this journey with 3 ships. It kind of seemed like weird that Nolan would just be. It felt almost like a betrayal to Calgara, like that he would just like almost sell out the island. I don't know. It didn't seem like his intention was to sell out the island, but like the fact that he wanted to bring more people to this island as opposed to like kind of keeping it on the down low was kind of weird to me.
Um, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like he was just more, he's not cynical. Like he truly didn't think that like the king meant any harm to like the inhabitants. And I guess we don't really know, but like
Yeah.
he was probably going to steal their gold, considering that he was just going to like kill Noland for no reason,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah, he's a little naive. I mean, he is someone who's willing to just like die for his beliefs,
I
which
liked
I
his
guess is
haircut.
kind of a yeah. The acorn chestnut.
Yeah, there's a chestnut in the water. Oh no, that's just Nolan.
Yeah, yeah, pretty good.
That was another translation thing because my translation kept switching back and forth. So sometimes they would call him Mont Blanc Noland. Like his entire backstory was Mont Blanc Noland and like in through Jaya, and then all of a sudden they started switching to like Mon Beru Norund or something like that. I was just
Yeah,
like,
where it's like
who
way
is this
more
character?
traditional Japanese. Like they're not even
Yeah,
trying to westernize any of the names.
it's very. I was like, who the hell is Mon Beru?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what. Yeah, I mean, it's just a reality of reading manga online.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yep.
think I was reading from the same place as you because mine, my site got it from the same source because mine definitely did, for like a couple chapters, become like very like none of the names were the same,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, I wonder what it would be like if this was my first time reading
Also,
it. But
Usopp. Every time they had Usopp's name, it would have one P instead of two P's.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's annoying.
Which is like obviously very small, but like pretty
Yeah.
funny.
And any of the like the big names, like looking at Zolo, it just drives me crazy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Let's see.
We didn't talk about the Mr. Prince moment again.
Wait, he had a Mr.
We
Prince
we
moment?
we had a Mr. Prince moment in that Sanji saves Usopp
Was it on the
from
ship?
getting on top of that Ark of the Covenant ship. And he gets smited by Enel. He's just toasted, and all he's got to say is "Thanks for the light, God."
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty sick.
pretty
I
sick
love
moment.
it when Sanji is a cool guy.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
also, I love that Usopp was like, he's willing to be the distraction on that one. Like, he
yeah.
was like, all right, and he literally was facing God,
He
which
had
is
a
right.
pretty
good
sick.
moment with Nami there. He's like, Usopp, you're supposed to be the one that saved me. And he was like, I was about to say the same thing to you, Nami. And like, they like both like look at each other and like laugh or something. And like, they're both like, I don't know, they're just both being gremlins or whatever. And then Sanji's like casually in the background. It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I,
And
yeah,
and
I like the dynamic. No,
it
go
turned
ahead.
out he like destroyed all the mechanics of that ship too. That kind of distracted Enel for a while.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think going back to what I said earlier about like some of the characters not getting like a focus. I thought that the fact that Nami's like weapon was like so weather tuned was going to be more of a factor. Like they do mention it, and like she does fight him for a bit, but like I felt like the fact that he's a lightning guy and like he's using this lightning on the world and on the island of Skypiea, like I figured like maybe her weapon could have like countered it in some way or like redirected it, but it did not end up doing so much, sadly.
yeah, I kind of feel like, I don't know. I feel like if she tried to use lightning against him, he would just win. Like because
Yeah,
he has absolute mastery. Like he doesn't need to like have a weapon for it. So I feel like he's stronger in his lightning control than Nami
yeah,
is. Because Nami has to like go through a lot of hoops just to like set up cold and then the warm and
yeah.
then like
The weapon doesn't
the
seem
and
super
he
thought out.
yeah, I mean, I mean, it's cool that she basically is able to have weather powers from nothing, like
Yeah.
from just Usopp engineering. But yeah, I mean, I think that like when compared to like a devil fruit user of Enaru's caliber,
The
not what
god
he is.
of lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was also something they set up. Like, I'm excited to see like later elemental guys because they were like, I don't remember if like how much they went into it, but they definitely mentioned like, oh, this is like one of those devil fruit users, like,
Yeah,
and
like the Logia.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Logia.
Logia
Yep.
users, and so
yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely excited to see in the future
Well,
like
I
the
mean, we've already seen a couple
well, I
Logia.
think is Ace the fire guy or
Yeah.
yeah. Ace is a Logia. Smoker's a Logia. Crocodile's a Logia.
okay,
So basically, anyone like a Logia is just like it just basically means like your body can like turn into whatever element you control, if that
oh
makes
okay,
sense.
gotcha, gotcha,
So they're like elemental. Like Luffy is not a Logia because like he doesn't like control rubber. He just like is rubber all the time,
yeah,
you know?
hmm
Whereas like with like Smoker, he makes a conscious effort to like turn his body into smoke and Crocodile like turns his body into sand and like same with like Enaru with like lightning. So
gotcha,
it's
Hmm.
like yeah. Or and then just like miss like so Luffy's like paramecia because he's just like I don't know one of the, like normal ones. I mean
oh, is
normal.
that what they're called, the Paramecia?
Yeah.
Okay,
There's Logia, Paramecia, and Zoan. And Zoan is like the animal one that like Chopper is.
okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Overall, this entire arc, it definitely like I definitely got the feeling like it really opens up. Like if there's an island in the sky that nobody's really heard of and like nobody's really been to except for like at the very end you find out like oh shit, Gold Roger was here,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
Yeah.
super
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
And like he's like in like he's engraved or whatever on the bell.
Yeah. So he could write poneglyphs,
Yeah, exactly. Super cool.
which is pretty sick because right now, as far as we know, Robin is the only person who can read the poneglyph,
Yeah.
the language
And
poneglyph.
she like teases that like okay, I've got to find all these poneglyphs to like form this overall thing
Yeah.
so I can like make the poneglyph to like lead us to the end of the Grand Line or whatever, or like
Hmm.
find
Yeah.
out what she's looking for. But yeah,
So we learn
overall, like
more about the poneglyphs and stuff. I feel like this arc, like, yeah, I mean, like I said, like it definitely does kind of feel separate from all the other arcs, but it's also like there's a lot of connections too with like the poneglyphs and like learning that Roger was here, and also like Blackbeard gets set up.
yeah,
So yeah,
it definitely seems to me like if they're setting up like the fact that okay, if there's an island here that's in the sky and like nobody's been to it for such a long time and it's been there and like there's a water stream that can shoot an island into the sky and like there are people living in the clouds like it really opens up the world a whole lot like okay, you're kind of like
hmm
anything can happen like they could really go anywhere with this like there's so many more possibilities with how wacky this world is that a sky island in the future might not seem so crazy, but as of right now, it's the craziest thing that they've seen. And yeah, like I said, it just definitely opens up the world a whole lot.
yeah. I mean, that's the stuff that I love about this arc. Just like the feeling of wonder as like we like learn all this like new stuff about the world and like what's possible. Like literally, like it's just encapsulated so well in that one like huge two-page spread of like the ship falling from the sky,
Yeah,
and then just like the words are just like uh anything that a human being can imagine is possible in reality, and then it's just like some random dude. Like it's just like a quote from some random person in the One Piece world. That's so sick. Like
yeah,
I love that page.
super sick.
In
Yeah.
uh in a regular anime, so we got the glimpse of the poneglyph that Gold Roger signed and saying something about a certain island you gotta go to. In a regular anime, you would expect, okay, maybe one or two more arcs. We're gonna we're gonna be there, but psych,
Yeah, it's gonna take a bit,
it's gonna take a while. Yeah,
which I'm okay with because like that's kind of the whole idea of the Grand Line is like you have to make your way through it, and it's
yeah,
Yeah, and that's like
long journey.
that's what I think that One Piece is like the series that takes advantage of the fact that it's so long the best, because like it's not just like, I feel like a lot of other like long running shonen series, they just sort of like, they just keep going because they're popular, and like their authors are just trying to keep up, they're just trying to like, all right, what can I do next, like what, they're not really like, they're not planning hundreds of chapters ahead like Oda is. But like Oda will do shit like this where he'll just like plant a little seed, and then it'll be like, all right, this is going to be like, just remember this, like don't keep it in
Yeah.
the forefront of your mind, but just remember it, and I'll,
Right.
I'll I'll mention it later. And then like that's the kind of shit that just like, it makes you feel good for remembering it, like when you remember it,
It's
you're like,
worth it.
oh yeah, I remember that, thanks. Like and like I always like trust that like when Oda does something like that where he like leaves something open, like in other series, whenever like something is like open like that, I get like a feeling of anxiety, I'm just like, oh god, like this is just going to be that like one more thing that just like is an open plot hole or like something. But like in One Piece, I never have that worry because Oda has given me enough reason to trust him. He's never let me
Yeah.
down thus far. So, well, I
Yeah.
mean, not never, but like, overall, very, very good track record. So,
Besides Pell.
yeah,
Freaking fell,
yeah. I mean,
dude.
One Piece is not perfect, but it's just better than everything else.
Yeah, it's the best we've got.
Yeah.
Freaking fell, dude. All right, any other closing remarks for these two arcs?
Um, yeah, not really. I feel like I've sung my praises. Like I
Yeah.
just love the sense of adventure. I
Yeah.
love the world building of the Sky Island, as you said, Will. Um, and yeah, I just love the feeling of just slowly learning more and more of the world's mysteries, which is what this part is all about.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, I think the next two we're doing
oh
just
yeah,
looking at the
the next one we have like two longish arcs that are not as long as like the two of these put together, but probably too long for us to do both of them together, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm just looking at arc things, so I'm gonna guess we can do Long Ring and then Water 7 and then
Yeah, we should do up to the end of Water 7,
okay.
I think. Because Water 7 is like 50, yeah, it says 53 chapters.
Yeah.
And then the one before that is probably like less than 10,
Yeah. All right. Well, that
maybe.
was another episode. We'll see you in 2 more weeks with those two arcs and yeah, thanks for watching.
Cool.